Good afternoon. Am I audible? Hello, Prapeet, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
So when will it start?
I think, ma'am, they will start after 15 minutes.
I can't hear you. They'll start after?
15 minutes. 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. How are you, ma'am? How is everything there?
Too hot here, so I'm not okay. The heat is taking a toll, so I'm not feeling very good. मेल आईडी टेक्स्ट कीजिए ना, हमको जो मेल किया हम आपका मेल आईडी भेज देते हैं, उस पे जूम का लिंक है, उस पर 10 करके लिखा हुआ है। नहीं नहीं, they have come in। एक मिनट सर, हाँ एक मिनट, हम अपना म्यूट कर लेते हैं। Prapeet, should I join after 15 minutes? What is the status?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you come to know that they have asked us to join after 15 minutes?
Ma'am, what's her name? Gromova, ma'am. She messaged me.
Maria Ekrova, ma'am. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Bhageshri has joined.
Because the time is 1. If we go by the standard time of the conference, so the time is at 1 p.m. Indian Standard Time.
Yeah, they
And
start
it's
at 10:30. No?
Yes, because it's still 10 minutes left.
Okay, okay. So let me be, otherwise there'll be a problem again. Hello, Bhagyashri. Hello, hello. Hello, Adit Narayan Banerjee.
Hello, ma'am.
From where are you, Bhagyashri?
Ma'am, Manipal University, Jaipur.
Okay. And what about, there's another one. Yeah, Dr. Meena Ketan Sahu has joined. Sir, you have joined. Professor Sahu, you have joined.
I joined.
You are not clear, Sahu,
Hello.
sir. Sahu, sir, you are not clear.
I have joined. I have joined.
Oh, then it is okay. Okay, fine. Thank you.
I have joined. Thank you. Thank you.
Now you can circulate among the students to join now.
Oh, I have already circulated and mentioned the time is at 1 p.m.
Okay, now relax, and then I think you are the first speaker, and after that I'll be the speaker.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, you're seeing, I'm seeing your thrilled face.
No problem. No thrill, because actually, ma'am, exam is going on. Okay. I was a little bit busy. When you said me it is at 5:30, I was very much relaxed. But again, the time changed, so I have to get ready for that. And actually, earlier also I was ready. No problem at all.
So the link is the correct link, I think.
Link is correct. Link is correct one.
Then, thank you, sir. Relax, and then it will start at 1 p.m. Indian time. So 5 minutes we have to relax us. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
And
Okay. Thank you so much.
I introduced you to Prapeet, Professor Prapeet. He's from Manipal University and a very known figure in international forum. And Prapeet, sir, this is Dr. Meena Ketan Sahu. He is professor of Sambalpur University. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. Pleasure meeting you, sir.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for inviting me to deliver a talk in this particular conference.
All our best wishes, sir, with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And sir, Sangeeta ma'am is also very renowned fraternity in international community.
Yes.
Ma'am is
She
very
has
kind
been-
and she never talk about herself. She's very kind.
Yeah. सेकंड हाफ प्रोग्राम जहाँ से सेकंड हाफ पे
Prapeet, how is the climate in Jaipur now? Many have joined now.
Hello, hello everybody.
Hi, hi.
It's very
Hello.
hot here in Jaipur. Hello, ma'am. Hello, Maria, ma'am.
Good morning.
So
Hi.
I hope we can start it.
Yes, yes, we
Yes,
are waiting
ma'am.
for long.
Yes, ma'am.
So I would like to.
Good morning, ma'am. Hello.
Good morning. Yes, I hope everybody are here. So I would like to introduce our moderator, hosters of our conference. This is hello.
Yes,
Hello.
yes, Maria, we can hear you.
Okay, so I would like to introduce the moderator from our university, Alisa Simkova, associate professor of Department of International Private Law of Kutaf in Moscow State Law University, She is with us today. So I would like to introduce another our colleague from India. So I would like to introduce Nitish Kumar Upthai, Associate Professor of Law and at Calcutta University. Good morning. And Singh Prabship, Doctor of Law, Associate Professor of School of Law of Manipal University, Jhumpar, India. It's a pleasure that we are with us today. And for me, it's a pleasure to see Professor Sangeeta Laha today, like a speaker of our conference. It's very nice that you are have opportunity to stay with us today and during another conference too. So today we can talk about current problem of Russian and Indian law in the context of new technology challenge, because the general topic of our forum this year about legal tech, and we can talk about some problem about legal tech also today when we are talking about the problem in Russian and Indian law. So I would like to introduce first speaker, Mineta Kanat Sahu, Associate Professor of Head International Affiliation of Department of Law, Sambalpur University, Buria, India. Are you with us today?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. I'm here.
Hello.
Hello.
Please.
Hello.
Please, hello.
Am I
Yes.
am I audible?
Yeah.
Am I? Okay. Good morning to
Good
all
morning,
of
good morning.
you.
You can,
Good morning
yes,
to all
you
of
can.
you.
Okay.
And thank you so much for inviting me to deliver a talk on this particular conference. And so far the topic is concerned, which I have been assigned, legal tech in securing environmental reliability in India, a developing terrain. In this context, I would like to say that we all must have heard regarding the artificial intelligence. And as far as this particular topic is concerned, artificial intelligence is the latest game changer in the field of technology. As far as the ecosystem is concerned, in our world where the environment is being damaged by the use of fossil fuels and ecosystems being destroyed, one can certainly wonder whether artificial intelligence would be able to prevent such large-scale destruction of the environment. So, how would the artificial intelligence be applied in such instances? In this context, I would like to say that what are the benefits of artificial intelligence? One can say that basically it is a mimicry of it acts like the machine in the place of the human brain. And artificial intelligence is a machine that has the ability to think and solve the problems of its own. As far as artificial intelligence is concerned, how it is applicable in environmental perspectives. Technology in environmental law and policy is the debate and discussion here. In this context, the application of artificial intelligence in different fields, specifically environmental law and policy. And in environmental law and policy, the first one is the climate change. If we will go through the concept of the climate change, which is a major concern in all over the globe. In the whole world, the climate change that has become a concern. So there is a specific issues There's the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, which uses the prediction models, which use the artificial intelligence to determine the prediction models to forecast the climate patterns, to prevent the large-scale destruction, the loss of life due to natural disasters such as earthquakes, droughts, and the cyclones. At the same time, the second issue with regard to the legal tech, especially in artificial intelligence, is nothing but air pollution. Air pollution has become a major concern in all over the world. And in this context, the widespread, it has become a widespread problem. Almost all countries, they have the major concern for this. The China, there are few cities in the China which is most highly polluted. So artificial intelligence helps in preventing the air pollution. And specifically, there is IBM setup in Green Horizon project that has been created. A technology, artificial intelligence can be used to track what the pollution levels, to forecast the air pollution, and at the same time, the artificial intelligence will help to prevent and to provide the solutions how to prevent the air pollutions. And the third one is the artificial intelligence as a legal tech that can be used in the case of species and habitat protection. How it can be applicable? In China, WWF, Worldwide Fund for Nature, that has been created for what? For finding the movement of the tiger in the jungle, to protect the tiger from the poachers. And that can be detected by taking the help of the artificial intelligence for the better protection of the environment. At the same time, artificial intelligence may be used for what? For providing the better habitat, especially for the animals and plant species. In this context, I would like to say that artificial intelligence has the capacity to manage and monitor the ecosystems, and especially with special reference to marine ecosystems, the movement of the species inside the water, and to locate their movement, etc. And next one is the sustainable development. As we know that in one part of the society, in specifically companies, the factories is to be established, and in another part, development is required. There is a question of pollution. There is a question of what? Emission of gases, etc. from the factories and the companies. As a result of which, the sustainable development is being is matter of a great concern. So artificial intelligence brings balance. It maintains a balance in between the what? Development and environment. At the same time, artificial intelligence that is also used in the field of agriculture. It helps to the farmer to know the weather and climate state, specifically in fertility, in moisture, and especially the temperature that which is correct. That the artificial intelligence helps the farmer to give the information in advance, so that the farmer can take the better opportunity and can yield the high yielding is possibly there. Artificial intelligence can also help the farmer, as earlier I've said you regarding the the time to harvest, the providing the water and irrigation, etc. In a country like India, so far the state of Andhra Pradesh is concerned, in Andhra Pradesh, the government of Andhra Pradesh, they have used the artificial intelligence in such a manner that the state of Andhra Pradesh, they have increased their yielding, their production by the farmers, that is 30% that has been increased. At the same time, artificial intelligence can also reduce the food wastage. Where the food wastage is a major concern, the artificial intelligence helps for the preventing the food wastage And at the same time, it also helps in the smart cities with regard to the household and industrial use for using the smart energy consumption. Artificial intelligence can help. Earlier I've said with regard to that the air pollution can be controlled. And the major concern is that environmental compliance. So far the environmental policy is concerned. So far the environmental law is concerned. The factories and the industries are not properly complying, and sometimes there is no data that is prevailing. In this context, environmental, specifically in the countries where the companies or the plants that may get away with environmental perspectives, so it will regulate, and artificial intelligence will regulate the environmental compliance. The policy makers will be well aware of that. These are the various benefits of the using of the legal tech in environmental perspectives. But here I would like to say, before my concluding observation, artificial intelligence has the potential to change the human lives and the environment. Especially, it has a large number of applications, and this number will increase in the future. Specifically, it has immense benefits. But it is also a matter of concern that there may not have accurate data, or the data, there is a data biasness is there. So sometimes it is a debatable issue before the authority that the artificial intelligence may not be solution. It may not be a full solution for the human brain. So in this context, the artificial intelligence may not replace the jobs of the environmental lawyers or the policy makers, since the analysis of data would always require human judgment. In the observation, I will say that although artificial intelligence is a boon for protection of the environment, it has immense benefits. Still, human judgment is also a matter. For correct data analysis, and especially the judgment depends upon the human being to operate the artificial intelligence. So one needs to measure the impact of the artificial intelligence, especially with regard to the applicability of the artificial intelligence in environmental protection. So this is the few things. That's all. Thank you so much. Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
thank you very much. It is very interesting speech. Maybe we have some questions, dear colleague. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, Dr. Professor, you were talking about artificial intelligence, right? Now, India being such a huge country, do you think the concept of artificial intelligence would be very fruitful? What about the common masses? Do they have any idea about artificial intelligence? Or do we as academia as such have any concept of what artificial intelligence is coming out as a new technology?
Yes. It's a very relevant question asked by you, ma'am. Especially, although artificial intelligence is a new technology, and even artificial intelligence provides benefits to the society, but it's a major concern that there is a lack of awareness regarding this particular concept. If we'll go through the poor people or the uneducated people, illiterate, especially the person who is a downtrodden people, they don't have any awareness regarding, they don't have any knowledge regarding this particular concept. It is confined to the specifically the educated people. But the benefits of the artificial intelligence, the applications and the implementation of this particular concept, there is a necessity of awareness. There is a necessity of mass awareness. There is a necessity of what? Sharing the views amongst the illiterate mass, uneducated people. As I was telling that it is better benefit for the farmers, for the agriculturists, for the companies. But sometimes they don't have any idea with regard to this particular technology because it is of recent origin and the technology is having major contributions to the society, for better contribution to the society, to all the peoples, to all the sectors, not only the for the environment. It solves the problem. The major problem which cannot be solved by the human being, which is based on the judgment, human judgment. Artificial intelligence can be used as a tool, as a technology for strengthening the system, for better government, or good governance. So there is the necessity of creating awareness, which is lacking in the present day context. Ma'am.
That is why I raised this question, because most of the masses are not aware of digitalization.
Yes.
The new technology that has come up. And especially now that we know our Russian colleagues only because we could get them online or they could get us online. But how much of the masses know about online technology? That's my worry. It has been introduced.
Okay. Ma'am, as I was telling that in China, 30 cities are highly polluted.
Yes,
and people of China are well aware of this artificial intelligence. They are capable to prevent, they are capable to control the pollution in their metropolitan cities by using the artificial intelligence, which is lacking in India. In Indian context, it is lacking. We need to go further. There is the necessity of creating awareness regarding the new technology, new device. Rather, I can say it's a tool and device for better solution of the problems raised by the different persons. And it provides benefits to the society, to the farmers, to the companies, to the factories, for the climate change, for the sustainable development. And for the, even it is meant for the habitat, wildlife, and controlling the ecosystem, marine ecosystems. You know, it's a very nice technology. I mean, almost all the problems.
Okay. Thank you. We are going out of time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I would like, thank you. It's interesting that we have a discussion, scientific discussion now. It's very important. So I would like to introduce with great pleasure Professor Lacha with her speech, and I think the challenge trend of women's participation in grassroots sports, democracy. It's a very, very important topic. Please, Professor Lacha.
Yes. Thank you, Professor Maria Ekrova, and once again giving me an opportunity to participate in such a prestigious and a good conference. And I have been knowing you for quite some time. It is a great opportunity to me, and I would be talking about women's participation in the grassroots level, because India for the last 20 years, am I audible, Professor Maria? Am I audible? Hello?
Yes. You are quite audible.
Thank you. In the last 20 years, India has seen a great participation of women in the local level, that is in the panchayat level, in the third stratum of level of governance in India. Why there has been an influx? Because we have got quite a lot of patriarchal setup in the society where men dominates in all sphere, and nevertheless in politics also there has been a lot of dominance of men. Though India is one of the countries which had the first woman president, India is also one of the countries which has the first woman prime minister, But yet India has to go a long way to maintain an equilibrium in the political democracy of India, where actually it is being dominated by the patriarchal setup of the society. Why I said in the last 20 years? Because India witnessed 2 amendments in 1993 and 1994, and coming straight to the point is the 73rd Amendment and the 74th Amendment, which brought reservation for women in Gram Panchayats and in municipal corporation. The first idea for a reservation was actually mooted up after independence. India got independence in 1947, and the committee that was set up to look into the Panchayati Raj reforms on the local democracy was the Balwant Rai Mehta Committee, who though mooted with the idea of the 3rd tier system of governance in India, that is the Jila Parishad, the Mandal Parishad, but yet the committee did not talk about women being elected in the village level. But at that point of time, when this Balwant Rai committee gave its recommendations, we have a system known as the concept of co-opt of 2 women who would be interested in working with the women and children. And this is the first generation of panchayats that started with a larger project of rural development. You must have heard the name of Mumbai, which is a very famous financial capital of India. So in 1961, Maharashtra witnessed Jila Parishad and Panchayat Samiti Act of 1961, and it provided for nomination of 1 or 2 women at the panchayat bodies in case if the women are not elected. So women here in the 1960s were to co-opt in the panchayats. In 1973, we have the West Bengal Panchayat Act for co-opting 2 women. But the report of the Committee on the Status of Women, that is CSWI, demanded representation of women in the panchayat level. Panchayat is the lower strata of governance in India, to make us aware of my Russian colleagues. And this status of women demanded all women panchayats at village level. So in 1978, in Maharashtra Panchayat only had 6 women. We just imagine 20, 30 years back the line, only having 6 women, although 314 were nominated in the panchayat. So women were brought into panchayat only through co-option. Co-option is why am I using the word co-option, is only those women who would be interested for working for women and children. But in southern state, especially in Karnataka, a remarkable story started, and the Karnataka Panchayati Raj included 25% of seats in local council to be reserved for women. So that was a history in politics, that women got some reservation, and that too in 1983. So just 29 years back, the story started. And that law included 25% of seat in local council, and the election to these council would be reserved for women. So election under this act, especially under the Karnataka Panchayat Act, though it got delayed, it was only held in 1987. And that point of time, India, the ruling party of India was Janata Dal. So it brought a convention, and 56,000 out of 56,000 elected representatives, 25% were women in panchayat. So it was a wonderful sight to see, women coming up in politics in the lower governance. 14,000 were elected, women were elected, out of which 30,000 contested for women from the audience. So it was a radiating sight. 80% of the women were participating in politics for the first time after independence, and they were thrilled with victory in the lower rungs of governance. In 1998, elections were held in Uttar Pradesh. and out of 74,000 village sabhas, the first elections after 22 years, a provision was made in Uttar Pradesh Panchayat Act for co-option of only one woman. So in Orissa in 1991, Panchayat Samitis provided for not less than 1/3 of the total number of seats to be reserved for women. In the year 1992, elections were held and over 22,000 women were elected. In the southern tip of India, that is, we have a very educated state, Kerala. In Kerala district council elections, 30% seats were reserved for women and 35% were won by women. So Kerala nowadays, Kerala's panchayat system is a model panchayat system in India. And in 1994, Madhya Pradesh had 150,500 women elected in the village, block, and Jila Parishad. Now, why it happened in 1994? Because we had the amendment in the constitution that talked about 30% of women in the local self-governance. So in Madhya Pradesh, 33% of seats were reserved for women in village panchayats, and women captured 43% of the seats. Now, so the Balwant Rai Mehta committee that recommended for the direction of democratic decentralization and rural reconstruction was actually brought in reality when women started participating in local governance, in panchayats. And now what we see in India is the influx of women, the quantitative this influx of women in politics have brought a quantitative, you see a quantitative change, and, they are very much talked. They participate in politics, they participate in meetings, they try to give their voice. So panchayats have outstretched, though panchayats have outstretched in all parts of the city. Rural populations saw a lot of women being participating in the panchayats. Now, after Balwant Rai Mehta committee, we have another very important committee, Ashok Mehta committee, that recommended for dual system of Panchayati Raj. Of course, many states have dual system, many states have 3-tier system, so that varies from state to state. And what I said is, after the 64th Amendment Bill, we have 73rd Constitutional Amendment. That is the third phase of Panchayati Raj that empowered Panchayati Raj with autonomy and resources, and visualized the local self-governance in India as an institution rather than unit of self-government. It represented a fair, hitherto, of group of women, scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. Now, SC, ST are the, they are economically, they were taken as economically backward class in the society. And not only there were 33% reservation for women, among the women of scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, reservation was also made, and 1/3 of the seat was given to women. So women panchayats got recognition at the village level, and they recommended to take care of the neglect of women in rural development program through the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment that came in 1993 and 1994. The 74th Constitutional Amendment, enacted in 1992, conferred constitutional status on municipal governance as institution of local self-government. So local self-government, to make my understanding more clear to the Russian scholars, local self-governments have municipalities that take care of the town and cities, whereas panchayat governance, that is rural governance, take care of blocks, village level and intermediate level of system of governance in India. So after this 73rd and 74th Amendment, eventually the change that they brought eventually led a large number of women to occupy leadership positions in Panchayati Raj institutions. Now, this development resulted in constitutionally mandated in which 232,3 332 village panchayats. It brought 2,32,332 village panchayats, 6,000 intermediate panchayats, and 534 Jilla panchayats, which are representative based and have members of village panchayats. Now, followed with 73rd Amendment, lot of changes have come across. The Andhra Pradesh Panchayat Act was struck down by the Andhra Pradesh High Court because of the Adivasi agitation. Then a lot of amendments came in the state level. The government brought a lot of amendments in the state acts. For example, Bihar has now raised to 50% of reservation in the Panchayati Raj. UP has also raised 50% of reservation of Panchayati Raj. Jharkhand, the state where I'm working, has also brought 50% of reservation. Himachal Pradesh, Kerala, Orissa, Sikkim, Telangana, Tripura, Uttarakhand, West Bengal, Punjab, Chhattisgarh, all this have got 50% of reservation of women in Panchayat. But my question is, and why I have taken up this topic is, we see influx of women in Panchayati Raj nowadays. But can women representatives voice their voice in local governance? I would like to submit no, because women are taken as proxy of their husband. Indian society is male dominated. And because in panchayats, we have women from the elected women are from the upper caste or from the family who are very powerful in politics. It is the husband and the father-in-law and the son who actually dominate in the scene of panchayats. So women have brought qualitative change. Indian politics are now filled with women in local government, and men are buzzing that women have come as village leaders, as sarpanchas, as mukhyas. Recently, a very educated young woman has contested the election and come in the local panchayats. So men are getting very bubbly about women being in politics. But have women brought a qualitative change or not? No, I'm surprised no, because women are not being able to interact with government officials. Meetings are held in cities or in some places where women are not being able to reach in time in meetings. So they are not being able to voice their opinion. And most of the women are from different political parties. So it is the political agenda that is more in village politics rather than the development process. So quantitative change women has brought in the local governance in India, but qualitative change is yet to witness the development process. And therefore, I am researching in this area. My postdoctoral thesis also in this area is whether women can bring qualitative change in the local governance of women. Thank you. And because of paucity of time, I'm not going much into details. Thank you very much, Professor Maria.
Thank you very much for your very interesting presentation. Dear colleagues, do you have any questions to our brilliant speaker?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so please, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. So Professor Sangeeta, ma'am, your presentation was very nice and deep researched. Just you were talking about the qualitative or change which we can see. Like recently we were watching some parliamentary debates, and the impact and the speeches, debates laid down on the floor of parliament by women are very impactful. If I see Mona Mitra, she raises quite relevant questions in the parliament, and we can see that qualitative change coming in parliament as well, the debates which happen. So women are able to raise their voice and raise the contention. And recently we have also seen in the judiciary, like Supreme Court judges, the number of women was very low, but now they have, even the judiciary and the judges are focusing on this, that there's a gender gap and we need to fill that gap. So these questions are being addressed, and slowly, and we can see some changes coming up.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Professor Prapeet, for at least asking me a question. It meant that you have heard me properly. Thank you very much for your patient listening. But what I'm trying to say is what you see in the parliament is the higher echelons of political government. And whosoever, if you research more, those who have come in politics, other than Mamata Banerjee or one or two women, mostly they are from the political background families, number one. Number two, we already had 75 years of independence in India, and it is only after 75 years of long struggle that now you see women as judges. It's a very recent phenomena. And how much of percent of women you see judges? Only just now 3 have been elevated. Were there any further before women Supreme Court judges? Whether further, except for Leela Seth and 2 or 3 Chief Justices or High Court judges, except in Maharashtra. Even in West Bengal, we did not have much of women judges in high courts. And to talk about your state, Rajasthan, did Rajasthan had women judges in high court? What you see, judges now are in the Munsif level, in the lower strata of judiciary, where of course, yes, my students are now coming up and your students are now coming up as judicial officers. But this is just a history, but I'm not talking of the present. What was in the last 75 years after independence? So local politics are now seeing qualitative change with 33% influx of women are now coming up. That biasness is slowly going, but still it is taking a lot of time. Coming in the decision-making process.
Ma'am, in this context, I would like to say, let me supplement the statement by the participant. In the recent election held in the Odisha, the majority of the women, they have won the election, especially in 30 districts. Out of 30 districts, 27 districts, the women representatives have shown their political status.
Yes.
This is a good signal of decentralization of power. But here I would like to ask you, during your speech, you said that there is a lack of interaction between the government officials and the women representatives. What is the need of the hour? What should be done? What's your concern? What's your suggestion?
My suggestion is, see, in many parts, rural districts, villages are not properly connected also. And the local officials, when they come, do they come with prior information? So as a result, elected representatives do not even get time to interact with them. I've seen number of videos working in Jharkhand. We have got now 50% of women representative in Jharkhand panchayats. After the last election we had in Jharkhand, women have come. But are women able to raise their voice? First is they are proxy of their husband. Most of the women are from, from political background. Either they are from JM or from Bharatiya Janata Dal, or women from political background. It's the first generation of women now coming in politics in Jharkhand. So are they able to concern the development? Coming in the political process is different from taking decisions in participatory democracy. One has to take decisions in meeting. Are women allowed to do so? Are we allowed to do so in meetings? That's my concern. Do a village, do village panchayat, those who are strong muscle men, accept women as leaders? Will they accept women? And the amount of money spent in elections, whoever women have come, you must have seen, they have a strong political hold to spend enough of money in election. Therefore, they got elected. Women like me, a woman coming from your background, we do not have so much of money to spend for election and to go for massive rallies. So actually, we are having qualitative change. Number of quality you will see. Out of 180% women you will see now. But I'm talking about qualitative change. Are they really making part in the development process of villages or not? Have they brought schools? Have they made the schools functional? Have they brought the primary health centers functional? Have they got wells and lakes and ponds clean? Have they brought roads? Have they asked the rural doctors to sit there 3 or 4 times in a week? No, sir. Only in Kerala you will see that. Kerala has changed a lot. I'm afraid even Maharashtra has not changed because there is still a patriarchal setup and they are very class conscious, very caste conscious, like South India. So my concern is literacy. Have literacy spread in India? You're talking of artificial intelligence. Do village rural population have Android phones like you and me? Do they have internet connections? We are talking about digitalization in the last conference that Professor Maria got us. We were talking about digitalization. Have rural women of India been really digitalized? Do they know how to work with internet and with whatever connectivity, Google and all? Do they know that? I'm afraid not. Many of the school children don't have Android phones. And you're talking about digitalization in Panchayati system, where we have so much of corruption in India. So that is my concern.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your,
That's done for today.
for your elaborate discussion. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Dear colleagues, thank you very much for your very interesting discussion. And dear colleagues, do you have any other questions to our speaker? So if no, so thank you very much again. And we will move on further. And our next speaker, I think it's Natalia Pazhelova, researcher, Primakov National Research Institute of World Economy and International Relations of Russian Academy of Science. And her topic is very interesting also. It's about legal regulation of financial technologies in Russia and India, current challenges. So Natalia, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, dear colleagues. So let me. Good morning, dear colleagues. Thank you very much for the opportunity to participate in this conference. It's very interesting. The topic of my presentation today is the legal regulation of financial technologies in India and in the Russian Federation. I will also try to cover very briefly the main aspects of the regulation of cryptocurrencies. The financial market in India is currently the 3rd largest in the world, and it is actively developing at the moment. The legal regulation, but is very fragmented. In the presentation, I will try to in this presentation, I try to accept all these the most interesting aspects. The main regulator in India is the central bank, and in the beginning, its approach to the regulation was very limited. But now that has now changed, and apart from the central bank, the regulation also includes interaction with the professional market participants and the Association of Indian Banks and the Ombudsman for Digital Transactions. The Ombudsman of Digital Transactions has to make compliance against non-banking institutions, and will help participants to resolve their cases. The most the most important act in this sphere is the Payment and Settlement System Act. This law is the principal legislation governing the payments regulation in India. This act prohibits the initiations and operations of any payment systems in India without the prior authorization of the central bank. Payment structures include credit and debit cards operations, smart card operations, money transfers, and other operations. The next act is soft law. It's guidelines regarding P2P lending platforms. So this act prescribed the lender exposure norm and borrowing limits concerning the operation of P2P lending platforms in India. The next act is regulations regarding a not credit payment infrastructure. According to this framework, money transfer services through platforms have to be generated by the banks, only by the banks. Banks can engage technology providers to carry out the operations of mobile applications for payments, but under the criteria and prudential norms as prescribed by the central bank. The next one is the not banking financial credit organization regulations. According of this act, any organization providing fintech services in India will have to be registered by central bank, and no banking financial organization can initiate or carry on the business of non-banking financial institutions without obtaining the certificate of registration from the central bank. And the last one is the regulation governing payment banks. So the payment banks do operate as a bank, but function on a smaller issues or scale. It cannot provide loans and issue credit cards, but these banks are registered as private limited companies and licensed under the Banking Regulation Act. And they have such a specific license. In the Russian Federation, the Russian government approved the concept of legislative regulation of digital currencies. And this year, the Ministry of the Russian Federation introduced a bill on regulation of cryptocurrencies to the government. This act is very interesting because in our country, the Ministry of Finance and the Russian government do not agree with the policy of the central bank. And now they try to they are looking for a compromise solution. So this bill is such a solution. What main aspects are there? The Ministry of Finance will establish the requirements for exchanges that will that will engage in activities related to cryptocurrencies, deposits and withdrawal of cryptocurrencies from the client to the operator and from the operator to the client will be possible, but only for banks using a bank account. It's very important. And it is a new rule in our country. The Russians, before buying cryptocurrencies, will have to pass an online test. You can invest up to 600,000 rubles a year if you are successful in this test, and without the test only 50,000 rubles. But the qualified investors and legal entities such as banks or other credit organizations will be allowed to carry out operation without restrictions. Operation with the purchase or sale of cryptocurrency will be possible only if the bank can give identification of a client. The Ministry of Finance of the Russian Federation proposed to legislate a definition of digital mining. It is also very important because the central bank will prohibit these operations. And the definition of digital mining is an activity aimed at obtaining cryptocurrency. So, very important is also that foreign cryptocurrency exchanges will have to register in Russian in order to obtain a license and have a right to transfer cryptocurrencies on the territory of the Russian Federation or to their clients in the Russian Federation. So this is the main aspects that I wanted to say. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Natalia. Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Sangeeta Laha, Associate Professor here in India. It was nice to hear from you about cryptocurrency. You're talking about the Central Bank of India, right?
Yes.
Of India. Central Bank of India, just to make your understanding more clear about the banking service, if you wish to visit our country anytime, is we have the Reserve Bank of India, which is the highest bank in India. So whichever banks, whether private or public sector, that is government banks, work in India, they have to follow the guidelines of RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India. Are you getting me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So Reserve Bank of India is the highest bank of India. So whenever we are talking about banking institution, we have to keep in mind, even as we have bank accounts, bank details. I have to keep in mind what the RBI, what is the highest bank, that is the Reserve Bank of India, are saying in their guidelines. So Central Bank of India is one of the subsidiary banks. The next important bank after RBI is State Bank of India, which is the oldest bank and the biggest government bank that have its network throughout India, throughout towns, throughout villages, borders. So it's not that Central Bank is the highest bank. Our bank is the Reserve Bank.
So thank you very much. I mean, of course, when I say Central Bank of India, I mean the most highest bank of India, the Reserve Bank. Yes.
Yeah.
So because it's my Russian vision, because in the Russian Federation we have only the central bank as the highest institution, and that's why I say central bank. I'm so sorry, but I mean, of course, the Reserve Bank.
Yeah. So your central bank is our Reserve Bank. And
yes.
And what we have is another bank, government bank, which is also known as Central Bank of India. So that's why the confusion.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
So Natalia, if an investor from India, he wants to invest in cryptocurrency in Russia, or maybe a Russian citizen wants to invest cryptocurrency in India. So any guidelines they have mutually collaborated for such transactions?
Can you repeat, please?
Yes.
Mhm.
If a buyer is from India, Indian national,
Mhm.
and he wants to buy cryptocurrency in Russia, or maybe a Russian citizen wants to buy cryptocurrency in India. So any mutual treaty these countries have signed through which the nationals can buy cryptocurrency in Russia and India together? Any guidelines on this?
No. Now they have no guidelines in this year. It's very important to have some international act between India and the Russian Federation, for example, to the transaction operations in cryptocurrency. It is possible, but now they don't have this act, and I think they don't have this act also because they don't have now understanding of cryptocurrencies, and our government they are not very sure that how they have to regulate this year, of course. And I think if they have some conclusion in with our central bank, they will have maybe guidelines of soft law, or maybe international act which help the investors in taxation, of course, and in transactions of cryptocurrencies between our countries.
Thank you, Natalia. Your comparison was very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. Interesting presentation. Thank you.
So thank you very much for your very interesting presentation, and we will move further on the program. And Miss Selena Sidorenko, Mr. Abhishek Tamandru, and Vardamone, are you here? Because I couldn't see them in our list. No? Okay. So then we will move on further, and our next speaker is Mr. Sharma, student, School of Law, Manipal University, Jaipur, India. And the topic is transformation of environmental laws in transformation to green economy. Very interesting and very actual topic. So, are you with us?
Bhagyashri Sharma.
Yes.
Bhagyashri.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, just a second. Yes, she's there.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So the floor is yours. Ms. Sharma.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Just again.
Yes. Well, listen to your presentation. Yes, now we could hear you and see you. So.
Good morning, Manipal University, Jaipur. Am I audible?
Yes.
So, Ms. Sharma.
So am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes, Bhageshri, you're audible. Please carry on.
Okay.
Bhageshri, your voice is breaking.
I think that we have some problems with the connection.
Of environmental laws in transformation to green economy. That's a system that runs on the ideas of state in which the cost is just. Is it okay now?
Sometimes we have some problems with the sound. Maybe
yes, it's
you
okay
try
now.
to switch off your camera to make it sound better.
Natalia, with your permission, I want to take leave now. It is lunchtime in India.
Okay. So, Ms. Sharma, could you hear us? I think we have some problem with the connection. Yes. I think yes. So let's move on further and we will come back to you a little bit later. Is it okay?
Am I?
No, okay. So I'm sorry for the trouble with the connection, and we will definitely come back with her presentation a little bit later. And our next speaker is Bhat Kaushik, student, School of Law, Manipal University, Jaipur, India. And the topic is living relationship in India, challenges and solutions. Are you with us?
No, Lisa ma'am, he's not here. He's due to some
Okay.
reasons, he's not able to join. We can move to the
Okay.
next presentation.
Thank you. And okay, our next speaker is Vikhat Vyaverga, a student, School of Law, Manipal University, Jaipur, India. And Siddharth Sogani, student, School of Law, Manipal University, Jaipur, India. Are you with us, dear colleagues?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, ma'am.
And their topic is powers and limitations of judiciary in India. So the floor is yours.
Ma'am, with your permission, can I share my screen for the PPT?
Yes, just 1 second.
Dear colleague,
I think that you have the possibility to show us your presentation.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Please try once more.
Dear colleague, I would like say one thing. One of our speaker, Elena Sidorenko, will stay with us after 1 hour, I think, because she have the problem in the house and she have no connection, internet connection. So, and I would like to ask our hosters of our moderator to send us information who of your colleagues today are present during the conference, because I didn't see Mr. Tomandru Verdamone. We didn't see them here. Please send for us information about who will be with us today. Thank you. And we can start it. We can start it now. Okay.
Sorry, but I cannot share my screen. The host had disabled the option.
Maybe your colleague would try to do that.
Vikhyat, can you
Because
please try?
organizers told me that it is possible to show your presentation.
Ma'am, it says the host disabled participant screen sharing.
No?
No, ma'am.
So can you see my screen? Is it
Yes.
visible?
Now we could see your screen.
Okay.
Yes, now we can see your presentation. So you're welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today I am Siddharth Somani of Manipal University, Jaipur, second year, and my colleague.
And I, Vikhyat Vijayvargiya, of a student of Manipal University, Jaipur.
We are going to present on the topic of power and limitations of judiciary in India in front of you. So moving on to the introduction, the judiciary is that branch of government that interprets the law, settles disputes, and administers justice to all citizens. The judiciary is considered the watchdog of democracy and also the guardian of the constitution. There are different levels of judiciary in India with different courts, each with different powers based on their jurisdiction. The Supreme Court of India, followed by the high courts of different states and then district courts with district judges. The judiciary in India has a pyramidal structure. The lower courts function under the High Court. The Supreme Court of India is the highest judicial forum and final court of appeal under the Constitution of India, consisting of Chief Justice of India and 30 sanctioned judges. Moving on towards the next slide, we have the main features of Judiciary of India. Moving on with the powers of judiciary. First, original jurisdiction. According to Article 131 of the Indian Constitution, Supreme Court can hear cases involving federal nature or cases which involve two or more states in it. Second, writ jurisdiction. According to Article 32 of Indian Constitution, the Supreme Court has the right to issue writs like habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, quo warranto, etc. can be issued to protect the fundamental rights of our citizens. Third, appellate jurisdiction. The Supreme Court of India can hear several appeals, constitutional matters, civil matters, criminal matters, and special leaves are the four broad categories in which these appeals fall. Fourth, advisory jurisdiction. Under Article 143, the President of India has the right to seek advice from the Supreme Court of India, and the court is not binding to give to the President until and unless it is related to any international treaty. Fifth, court of record. Herein, the Supreme Court has two powers. First, the authority to punish for the contempt of court, and second, the judgment and act of Supreme Court are recorded and they are recognized as a legal reference or precedence. Now, I would like my colleague Vikhyat Vijayvargiya to take over.
Now, I will be briefing about the limitations of judiciary in India. So, there is a conflict between judiciary and legislature. The judiciary is authorized to examine the validity of the statute, which is passed by an authentically elected body of the legislature. It violates the power of separation. The Constitution imposes legal limitation on legislature as well. Article 13 of the Indian Constitution states that national shall not reduce to some extent rule, which take absent or condenses the right as pondered in its part 3, that is fundamental rights. The Supreme Court is not free to make rules and regulations for Indian courts. It is constrained by constitutional limitations as well as human and legal rights restrictions. Article 131 to 136 gives Supreme Court the power to resolve the matter between two states or between union and states but the court may be required to interpret the provisions of the Constitution, and the interpretation given by the Supreme Court becomes binding to all the courts of the land. Now I will be talking about the judicial review and judicial activism. Judicial review refers to the power of judiciary to review and determine the validity of a law or an order. On the other hand, judicial activism refers to use of judicial power to articulate and enforce what is beneficial for the society in general and people at large. There is a marked difference between both of them. The interpretational and observer role of the judiciary over the legislature is called judicial review. The judiciary is the final authority for the interpretation of Constitution in India. While judicial activism is the concept, how actively and quickly the judiciary performs the act of judicial review. The readiness that the courts have achieved in exercising its power to uphold the values of the Constitution have been generally come to the extent that judicial review has gradually acquired the form of judicial activism in India. The courts have overthrown or at least liberalized the concept of locus standi to allow any public spirited person or organization to bring the notice of the court any matter of injustice and violation of constitutional rights or any downtrodden and unprivileged classes of society. The court has also expanded the scope and amplitude of Article 21 to cover many basic rights under it, so that giving them the status of fundamental rights, they can be enforced against the state also, even by public interest litigation. Here are
So
some
who,
of the Siddharth, landmark judgments. So these are some of the landmark judgments which took place in the Indian history. Some of the famous ones are the Keshan and Bharti versus State of Kerala, Minerva Mills Limited versus Union of India, Ramesh Thapar versus State of Madras, Golaknath versus State of Punjab. Now
so
moving on to the conclusion.
moving on to the conclusion, the Constitution plays a major role to strengthen the judiciary of India. The Supreme Court has been granted the utmost power by the Constitution of India. The decision of Supreme Court cannot be challenged, but the President and the Parliament have the powers to impeach the Supreme Court judge anytime and whenever needed. Due to the acceptance of separation of power in India, we are unable to exercise the power of judicial review entirely. If the court assumes complete and arbitrary judicial review authority, all government departments will perform poorly. As a result, for all the functions to work properly, they must each operate within their own domain. In India, the concept of judicial review is enshrined in the fundamental framework of the Constitution.
Though it is true that the ability to review is crucial, absolute power to review cannot be granted, and by recognizing judicial review as a fundamental aspect of the Constitution, Indian courts have given a whole new meaning to the concept of check and balances. This also implies that the notion of separation of powers has been buried, with the court granting itself unrestricted authority to evaluate everything the legislature does. A sound judicial system is one based on an objective inquiry, practical and unbiased analysis of evidence, and delivery of timely and even-handed justice to all citizens. The government must take hard and fast actions on reducing the pendency of cases, as the justice delayed is justice denied. As a matter of fact, the present system of justice is a little bit out of place and out of time and tuned with democratic procedure and norms that please only a certain section of the society with vested interest. Therefore, there is an immediate need to restructure the entire judicial system to make it answerable to the needs of a democratic and progressive society. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So thank you very much for your very, very interesting presentation. And do you have any questions to our speakers, dear colleagues?
Can you state any case law which has made the difference between judicial review and judicial activism? Any recent case law, dear participants?
Yes, sir.
Which one?
Sir, hold on for a second. Sir, in the Indian history, many cases took place. Which,
The recent one, 2021, 2022, where the judiciary have said that this is judicial activism and this is judicial review.
Sir, for the current being, I don't have any ideas, but I have the previous judgments which were landmark in the Indian history. The one of them is Keshan and Bharti case 1973. In this,
Any judgments during pandemic?
No, sir, I don't have any idea.
Do you remember the Prashant Bhushan case where the court charged him with contempt
Sir, contempt
and
of
fined
court.
him? Yes.
Fine.
Fined him, yes, 1 rupees.
1
Okay.
rupee.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so thank you very much. And our next speaker is Adship Narayan Baneri, Student School of Law from Manipal University, Jaipur, from India, Elsa. And the topic is India-Russia bilateral ties towards sustainable development. So now we can see you.
Yes, thank you.
So please.
I'll just share the screen.
Yes, you have the possibility to share your screen with us.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, now we can see your presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, before this learned gathering, I shall be presenting the topic of India-Russia bilateral ties towards sustainable development. The topic centers around the development of diplomatic relations between the countries through economic jargons and tactics adhering to the United Nations imposed sustainable development goals. This topic does not have much of a legal sphere. I wouldn't say much, I would say at all. And it is completely based on international relations. Before we delve into the nature of relations, it is pertinent to understand what is sustainable development. Sustainable development was defined in the reports of Brundtland and Our Common Future, which held the general consensus that the limited usage of resources for development so that there are enough resources left for the future generations to be used. Such goals are designed in a way to get rid of poverty, inequality, climate change caused due to pollution and global warming, as well as other forms of environmental degradation. Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs as you may say, can only be achieved when there is peaceful coexistence of global powers and resistance to terrorism by building a global defense network strategy and education, and also by providing justice to the victims in terms of social, political, and economic spheres of life. By education, I mean the education against radicalization of religions. It may be any spheres and any sect. When we retrospect in relation between India and Russia, it dates way back to the medieval period when the two rivers, the Volga and Ganga, were supposedly linked through the Caspian and the Oxus. Even though it is said to be a belief or a myth, the dried up riverbed suggests that there was a link between the two countries. Further, if you move on to the next point, it says that mercantile relations involve exotic spices, medicinal roots and plants, leathers, etc. So the mercantile trade relations were suggestively established when Afenasi Nikitin set out on his journey to India, which lasted from 1466 to 1472, in reciprocation to the period when handcraft spices, agriculture, and indigenous culture flourished in the 1500s. Indian merchants were frequent visitors of Moscow during the reign of Vasily III, who was who was the father of Ivan the Terrible, if I'm not wrong. Such trade was kept up during the Tsarist regime in Russia by the present-day Afghanistan as a trade corridor. The long journey coupled with illness, detachment from family, even robbers, and even the risk of death could not deter the Russian merchants and Indian merchants for undertaking fruitful business exchanges, giving access to citizens of respective countries wider choices along with exposure to the cultural variations. On the advent of the railway mechanisms, Emperor Nicholas II took initiatives to extend the principal railways of Orenburg and Tashkent to link with the crucial regions of Hindustan, that is present-day India. Shifting to the modern period, India in general had a consensus and always admired the spirit of the Russian people and the political turntables played during and after the Bolshevik Revolution of 1970. The storming of the Winter Palace after the depiction of the event was done through the communist propaganda film was often used in the character of a symbolism to lift the spirits of the Indian freedom fighters in revolt against the oppressive and inhuman British rule. Post-independence of India, the Russian autocratic ruler Joseph Stalin was reluctant to develop ties with India as he thought of the Indian political leaders being influenced by the British imperialism. As the British legal system is also quite influenced by the English common law system, and also the we have bicameral form of legislation, that is the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha, the upper house and the lower house. It is same, which is quite similar to the UK system of House of Lords and House of Commons. However, during the era of de-Stalinization under the leadership of Nikita Khrushchev, started to set the pace of the relations between the two nations. During the Soviet days of Russia, when the tensions between Communist China and Soviet Union riled up, and when China invaded the portions of Indian territory along the line of actual control, which is the disputed area near Arunachal Pradesh and Himachal Pradesh, the Soviet Union had sold their MiG aircrafts to India, and after the United States and United Kingdom turned their backs to the request of help by India. The Soviet Union had also supported India through the naval force during 1971 Indo-Pak, which was the result of the Treaty of Friendship signed during the August of 1971, and also the naval force was ratified when a certain security clause was invoked. So that war liberated Bangladesh from Pakistan's ruthless oppressive regime, when the great advocates of human rights, the United Nations, the United Kingdom, and on the contrary, China, the three nations supported Pakistan. Moving on to the Cold War crisis. In the midst of the Cold War crisis, when US imposed sanctions on the Soviet Union to rupture the economic journey, and at the same time, the United States attempted to prevent the development of the multipolar world principle, bringing an alternative to the US dollar, where ruble was prospected to become an alternative due to its vast economic activity. The economic rupture led to the mutual acceptance of United States as a dominating power in the world economy, both from Russia's side and India's side. And this led to a period of stagnations in the relations between the countries, as India, being a very young and developing economy, looked up to the West for idle trade relations. After the disintegration of the Soviet Union in the 1991, Russia opened its border for stronger international trade relations globally. And coincidentally, it was at a time when India also started realizing its trade policy, undertaking an open approach on the global trade relations. Well, at the beginning of the 1990s, the countries lost their exclusive partnership. However, the new Treaty of Friendship and Cooperation in 1993 also lacked the security clauses, as I already mentioned, regarding the difference of the Treaty of Friendship in 1971 and the 1993. However, the relations were firmly established after signing the Declaration on Strategic Partnership in October 2000 under the leadership of Vladimir Putin. A high level of trust has been fostered, where India traditionally endorses Russian initiatives in the United Nations, and absence for resolutions hinder interest, which could be recently seen in the current Ukraine crisis. Such mutual cooperation joins the idea of multipolar world when where there are other great powers apart from the US and China, and greatly evident from the Russia's push to induct India into the Shanghai Cooperation Organization to prevent the organization be susceptible to China's soft power tactic. The two sides also signed the strategic vision for strengthening cooperation in peaceful uses of atomic energy in 2014 and agreed on the partnership for global peace and stability in 2016. In early 2019, Russia bestowed the Order of St. Andrew the Apostle on PM Modi for his distinguished contribution to the development of a privileged strategic partnership between Russia and India and friendly ties between the Russian and Indian people. Apart from the annual summits, the defense minister of the two countries get the chance to meet regularly as they co-chair the Intergovernmental Commission on Military Technical Cooperation, which is also IRI, GCMI, MTC, I think. These annual meetings seek to review the defense cooperation between the two countries, and other ministerial level meetings also take place annually, ensuring regular contacts at different levels of the government between the two countries. When India and Russia's economic relationship has been a weak point post the Cold War period, the most glaring sign of stagnation may be during the 2014 period when US emerged as the top arms supplier to India, pushing Russia to the second position based on data for the preceding 3 years. At the same time, India became the top foreign buyer of US weapons in 2014, given that the military and technical ties were historically the bedrock of Russia's relationship. A drop in the sector was a clear matter of concern, which could be seen in the Indo-Sino War, 1962, and also the 1971 war. While in overall terms, Russia remained India's top supplier of defense items during the period of 2014 to 2018. The total exports fell by around 40% between 2014 and 2018, and also comparatively the 2009 to 2013 period. However, Russia still has a hold of 58% of the total arms imported by India, and the second position is held by Israel and US at 15 and 12%. This figure is, however, a step down and some kind of degradation from 2010 to 2014, when Russia had complete 70% share in the Indian defense market. Despite this, Russia's market share ensures that the country remains a critical supplier to India, both of new arms and spare parts. The military and technical cooperation that includes transfer of technology and joint production of the relationship that is extremely valuable to India. There was supply of S-400 Triumph air defense missile system and 4 Admiral Grigorovich class frigates. The deals were also finalized around 2018, I think, in the Sochi summit between Putin and our Prime Minister Modi, as well as a shareholder deal regarding the manufacture of Ka-226T helicopters in India. Why I've been mentioning the defense system exchanges between the two nations, because one kind of definition that I found out in certain journals of the US is that sustainable development does not only mean saving the resources for the future generations, but also sustainable development means to assess the self-sustainability of a nation, how it is dependent upon its own resources to protect itself from external aggression. Further, if we move on to the energy cooperation sector, there has been several remarkable developments in the recent years. Russian-Indian nuclear cooperation has a long history, and before the disintegration of the Soviet Union, the two countries also signed the nuclear cooperation deal in 1988, updated a decade later and extended with other agreements like the 2002 agreement for the construction of 2 nuclear reactors by Russia in Tamil Nadu. And also it was started up at the wake of 2011 India-Russia summit that was remarkable, and where the strategic relationship actually started to develop after the long period of stagnation. And it had opened the door to greater Russian involvement in India's nuclear energy field, as well as 4 additional nuclear reactors are being planned as of now. Whereas the 2008 Civil Nuclear Agreement with the United States, following the accord by the Nuclear Supplies Group, the NSG, amidst a drastic change in the American policy, ended India's nuclear isolation and also presented the potential for greater cooperation with the West. So this is where the sustainable development goals come into play, where each country has come together to create the step forward for sustainable development, and something that the future generations will be grateful for us. And further, in 2009, close to the India-US deal, and following upon the history, India-Russia has also sealed a very long-term pact for expanding civil nuclear cooperation that is free from any kind of restrictions on India and guarantees any curbs in future. Also, Russia made its first Indian uranium delivery April 2009, and India has also significantly increased its acquisition of foreign nuclear technology and fuel to advance its energy strategy. Also, there has been several other countries involved in India's market, however, nuclear market, and however, the Russia's involvement has been the most remarkable one due to its percentage share. The energy sector also saw a certain degree of forward movement in 2015 when a memorandum of understanding was signed regarding the exploration and production of hydrocarbons in Russia. Important agreements in the field of nuclear energy were also finalized during such period, and the construction of at least 12 nuclear power plants over the next 2 decades for the localization of manufacturing of power plants to promote indigenous technology and to expose the countries, the respective countries, to new kind of technology. In 2016, several deals in the hydrocarbon sector were also signed, The most important, which was in the 23 point or 24%, I think 24% stake in Bankorneft by Oil India Limited, the OVL stake acquisition, and also the Rosneft acquisition of SR Limited, which was the largest FDI in the sector for India. It was also in Russia's largest foreign deal for India. Russia, the largest oil gas investment destination with a total 15 billion in cumulative investments. If we move on to the conclusions, so as per my opinion, the pertinent to the situation posed by global players and the challenges of sustainable development goals, India's foremost challenge in this situation is to counter the China-Pakistan axis. While Russia has been pushed into a closer embrace with China, primarily on the account of Western sanctions, she cannot be comfortable with Beijing's increasing footprint in her economy and in Central Asian states, which was very evident, whatever I mentioned about the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And India and Russia have no outstanding bilateral disputes, unlike like the territorial disputes, unlike China and Pakistan. Private sponsors in both countries should help Russian higher learning institutions establish a presence in India once the law that allows foreign institutions to open campuses in the country makes its way through the parliament, a development projected for early 2012. India's Ministry of Human Resource Development can partner with private sectors in this regard to set up the outlets of Russian universities such as Moscow State University and other provincial colleges with a science or engineering specialty in several major Indian cities, offering the instructions in English. Once established, these institutes should be the recipients of state subsidies and preferential enabling regulations, example, say lower taxes and lower fees for the students, and also incentives that will be provided for the student loans. Based on the popularity of the Russian medical and to the lesser extent IT and engineering education among the students, this measure cannot fail to gain the interested students' attention. The Indian government also needs to lobby Russia to establish programs akin to the Fulbright program that is going on in India that would provide an exchange of qualified scholars and more scholarly literatures between the countries. This initiative would not only create more people-to-people exchanges, but also stimulate the cooperation in the scientific and technological fields, thus re-energizing the Russia-India relationship on other levels. Also, one weak pillar that got my attention was the bilateral relationship and trade, because sustainable development is not restricted to only energy deals. Even other forms of trade could open up the new avenues. The India-Russian trade actually languishes around $10 billion, and India-Bangladesh trade is also around the same part. While the bottleneck is subsisting, the governments must focus urgently on this, and the joint task force should be mandated to come up with the options so the new trade target of 30 billion is to be achieved by 2025. The International North-South Trade Corridor, the INSTC, has the potential to connect the landlocked Central Asia to the Chabad port and establish trade linkages through the naval forces and the naval logistics. Russia is also demographically a challenged country, and the aging population at its rate of growth are below the replacement rates. And and also India has the advantage of a young population that can be harnessed for sectors like farming in Russia's vast land area. So even providing India could act as a very important aspect for Russia to provide manual labor. And Russia and India would have substantially increased bilateral trade volumes and a general positive investment environment, benefiting from the joint economic projects aided by the Entrepreneurs Council and the reorganized ambitious India-Russia CEOs of Council. They would collaborate in the engineering and construction industries, the third country projects that could also be involved. Russia can also help India to modernize its infrastructure such as roads and airports. Also, one of the most significant infrastructure helped by Russia was the establishment of the IITs. That is the Indian Institute of Technology, which is as of now one of the most well-reputed institutions in the country. And Russia should also continue to be India's top partner on nuclear energy development, a role that is currently challenged by the United States and increasingly at the same time Kazakhstan. privately funded Russian-Indian consortium could also develop civilian nuclear power plant in a number of Asian and African countries to move forward regarding the sustainable development goals. There is also a joint space development program that is undergoing for India and Russia. That is one of the leading world consortiums. There would be also two to three high technology industries beyond space where Russia and India would jointly lead. Most likely information technology, nanotechnology, and biotechnology, taking care of both the country's cyber security issues. India should hope that.
I'm sorry, could you please just to sum up?
Yes, this is the last thing that I'd like to say is that India should also hope that Russia stays neutral in the US-China tussle for primacy. And this requires the US and Russia to reach some kind of accommodation on a vital issues such as arms control, European security, and Russia's desire for influence in some areas as well as beyond its power. Whichever way the situation evolves, India and Russia have an overarching common goal that is a multipolar world, which should keep them interested in maintaining robust bilateral relations for years to come. Thank you for listening with patience. I'd like to end my presentation here.
So thank you very much. It was very interesting and you have very nice presentation. So thank you very much. Dear colleagues, do you have any questions to our speaker? If no, we'll move on to our next speaker. And I see that we have our professor Elena Sidorenko. She is director of the Center for Digital Economy and Financial Innovations at the Moscow State Institute of International Relations, MGIMO University, and she is also PhD in law, and she has very interesting topic, digitalization and the problems of law. So the floor is yours. We are happy to welcome you.
Thank you, Alicia. I'm very glad to see you, dear colleagues. I'll try to share with you my presentation if it will be possible. I'm sorry for my late. Let me try.
Just a minute, if you can put your name in English. We don't know Russian.
Yes, yes, for sure. My name is, you will see it on my presentation. Let me show you. Oh, sorry. My name is Elena Sidorenko. It's not.
Thank you so
yes,
much.
Elena Sidorenko. I am from Moscow State University of International Relations. If it's possible, I think it will possible for you to see. I will share with you some ideas about role of digitalization in strengthening law regulation, if it will be possible. So, good evening or good afternoon, dear colleagues. For me, it's a great honor to share with you my speech about my ideas about transformation of law in the context of digitalizations. First, let me start with the major international trends, priorities of digitalization and their challenges. First of all, digitalization, has a positive effect of development of economy and society of most countries, which in turn increase an impact of the strengthening of cooperation between states, and especially it's very important for Russia and India. According to the latest UNCRED Informational Economy Report, the main technologies areas profiting from digitalization around the globe are the following. First, the robotics, which assist in replacing human being with machines and increase the specialists of any areas of economy. The second one is artificial intelligence. I will show you when I will start to discuss about regulation. The second one is artificial intelligence. It will find the application of many areas. For example, IBM is already using artificial intelligence to study development issues in Africa. Third, the international of things, which allows connecting large amounts of statistics in many areas, such as climate change, healthcare, thanks of sensors connected to the international in various devices and applications. The fourth, cloud computing, which help improving methods of storing and processing information. For example, in 1980, the storage of 1 gigabyte of data cost $100,000. Today, the cost is increased to 2 cents. Cloud computing will make one cloud make more accessible to small companies, including by allowing many specialists to be engaged in specific tasks rather than on basic fields. The fifth, big data, which will allow collecting and processing statistical data to previous increased volumes. Big data technologies is already being used in some countries, and especially it's very important to note in Africa to accurately calculate. I'm so sorry. The form on irrigation and other ecological things. The sixth one is 3D printing. It will allow producing necessary goods then needed, and finally, digital payment system, and especially it's very important for Russia now because we are in a border of as I see, of digital transformation in that sphere. Because for us, it's very important now to find a new way in developing of digital payment systems. And as I see, it's very important now for cooperate with India to find our own way in that case. So when we start to say, and we should understand that now it's very important to try to find the most effective way for digitalization and try to adopt this way in our legal sphere. So as I see now, we should understand that we have only one way to find or to create new legal challenges. But now we have two main possibilities. The first one is utilitarian approach. For example, if we have two main technical, for example, purposes, we can realize it in some very small, not very brave ways. And the second one, we have methodological approach. And in that case, we should understand how we can do something and try our best for realize it in all spheres of digitalizations. And in that case, I think that methodological approach is one of the most effective in that way, because it allows us to cooperate with each other and to try to find for example, how maybe a global way for our cooperation, not within Russia and India, but with other countries also. And in that case, I think that when we look at methodological way, we should see all inclusive legal regulation, for example, in international way and not domestic. In that case, for example, unfortunately for us now, it's this way is not so open as before, especially for Russians. And but it's not we can say that now we have opportunities in that case, but it's very limited for us now, but it's still exists. And the second way is fundamental, not sectorial. In that case, now we can find something basic for all countries, and maybe in the future, maybe after 1 year or more, other countries will follow that way. Before I can say that the main key case speakers, maybe main players in that sphere was OSCE in our area and UI critical information infrastructure protection agenda. But now we should change our opinion in that way. How to protect digital products now? Now we can see that we should say and we should discuss digital rights, and now it's part of our modern regulation, and we should understand it. For example, in Russian law, it's international, information law. But for example, in English law, it's property. So we have some spheres of conflicts in that case. And for example, if we have one product which is realized between Russia and England, it's very important to find or to build a special legal bridge for copyright our maybe manner of thinking that way. For example, look, we have really positive. For example, copyright, authors' rights, related neighboring rights, and independent institutes on intellectual rights. And we should understand that in each product we should analyze it and try middle way and try to, for example, to add one to each to another one. The next way, or what I can see now, it's a protection of digital products. New legal capacity issues. For example, when we are speaking now about all artificial intelligence, we should understand that it's not only a mainstream of technologies and digitalization. It's one of the mainstream for reforming regulation, not only in Russia, but in international level also. Now we should understand that there is some very important issues in that case. For example, what is legal and who is important? Who is the main players in that sphere? Is it a physical person, for example, driver? I'm a driver and I am in the car, and this car is an accident. Who is victim in this sphere, and who can carries all responsibilities in that case? Me, like a physical person, or corporation who create this artificial intelligence, or company who bought this car for using. So now there is no one way for solve this problem, and now we should discuss with each other to try to find or to build a new way for solve such problems in that case. The next one is privacy protection issues. when we are telling about Internet of Things, smart home devices, cloud technologies, and big data. And you know that now we have a great conflict with legislations in the sphere of drones. And it's not only a military way in that case. When we use drones in our all-day lives, we also have some problems with that. For example, if my drone looks for lands of my neighbor, so there is a great conflict of that. Who I am in that case? Is there any is there any crimes from me or something else? For example, some civil deal. If I'm looking for my neighbors with drones. So now we really should understand it. Like, for example, if I have a smart fridge in my house or smart TV, and I have problems with that, for example, someone uses my TV for some, for example, cybercrime. And we have such a case in Russian with our Sberbank, when he was attacked with smart TV sets of Russian citizens. And they were really great problem to try to solve this problem, because who is or what is my smart TV set? Is it part of me, or is it part of a program which was involved in technologies? And maybe it's so like in conclusions of my speech is one idea. What is the main strategy in for nowadays? Is it prospective advanced strategy or security strategy? It's very important to try to honestly answer on this question. What we want to solve in first way. I think that one of the most important things nowadays is security strategy. But we should understand that it can't be realized in one step. There should be a very global and very difficult strategy, and it could be realized only if we together try to find our own way in that sphere. So I will be very happy to answer on your questions. Thank you for your attention.
So thank you very much. That was really brilliant presentation. You have very interesting topic for discussion. So dear colleagues, if you have any questions to our speaker, I don't see the questions.
Yes, I do have a question. I'm not opening my camera. Yeah, I'm Dr. Sangeeta Laha from India, Associate Professor. I have a question that what is the impact of digitalization? Our courtrooms have become digitalized. Okay, like cases and all are coming in a digitalized manner. We now get to know which cases in which courtroom and which cases now being taken up by judges. So that's one way of transforming digitalization. How would that change? India has got a lot of backlog of cases. A lot of cases are being heaped up in Indian courts. How is digitalization? How is in Russia? We would like to know more about the Russian courts, or how digitalization has changed the general public of Russia.
Thank you for your question. As you remember, once we met with each other, and you asked me something like this question. But now I can say that in Russia now there are a lot of platforms for discussing future, our digital future, and especially in private sphere. So we all of us are sure that it's very important for us not only to develop digital technologies, but it's also so important to try to find our own way in legislation of digital transformation, and especially in business sphere. If you ask me about key waves in that sphere, they are, as I see it, it's only in my opinion, they are, first of all, defending of personal data. Now we have very important and very scandal cases with using personal data, and especially personal data of ill people, COVID, people with COVID, or we have problems with data of people who was registered in one of the most popular resource Russian. I mean data of people who booked food in one of the huge Russian company, and that data were used of some people, and now I think that we will have a huge court cases in that sphere. It's one way. The second one, now we should understand that it's very important for public development, is to find our own way of defending big data. Unfortunately, big data is not of independent object of Russian legal regulations, and now we should understand that it's very important not only to regulate this sphere, but to try to find formula of using big data in private sector. For example, if you use metro or underground, our metro saves all information about you. But now we can't use this information because we have no legal base to defend your right of using this data. The third way is the third important way for developing our regulation is, as I see, is cyber is security in cyber sphere. So now, yes, we have a special norm in criminal law, but it's not enough for defending. For example, if you use international information for cyber attack, you will go to prison for only 2 years. And we understand that it's not enough now for defending new sphere of cybersecurity in Russia, especially in public way. And the fourth one, and for us it's one of the most important, is try to find our own way for defending digital financial assets. Now we just made only one step in that sphere, and I don't think that it was effective step. For example, now we have special law about digital assets, but these rules are not enough now for developing public sphere in that case. For example, we have no normal legal regime for using digital bonds, for example, or for using cryptocurrency. And in that way, we should understand how we can do it, trying to save a nice and healthy balance between security questions and issues of developing public sphere. I'm very happy. I'm very hope that I answered on your question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for your answers. And once more, thank you very much for your presentation. It was really interesting. And our next speaker is Bayashri Sharma, student of law from Manipal University, Jaipur, from India. And the topic of her presentation is transformation of environmental laws in transformation to green economy. So, dear Bayashri, so the floor is yours. So, Bayashri, could you hear us?
I think there's some internet problem here in their place.
Yes, unfortunately, yes.
Can we move to the next speaker? Because we are already running short of time.
Yes, of course.
Yes, we can move to a new speaker. Who?
Yes, Parik. Bhavya Parik, student School of Law, also from Manipal University, Jaipur, India. And the topic of the presentation is evolution of environmental laws, a special reference to judicial activism.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bhavya Parik from Manipal University, Japan, and my topic is evolution of environmental laws, a special reference to the judicial activism. Environment word came from the French word environ, means to encompass or surround. Jacob Illuser, a biologist in early 1900, is believed to be the man behind the introduction of this subject. It must be kept in mind that uncontrolled human-environment interaction has resulted in unsustainable development of the society, leading to the degradation of this environment. Increasing in the population and decreasing in the forest reserve is due to the short-term profitability of a man. Now I will tell you the origin and development of environmental laws in India. Environmental law in India is not new. We have Vedas, Puran, Upanishads, scriptures, which talks about the indebtedness of man to the nature and emphasize the importance of maintaining ecological balances. Indian culture and in ancient time, we have laws which restrict the cutting of trees and forests, which are even punishable also. The very detailed and prescriptive are found in the provisions of Kautilya or the Shastra that was written between 321 and between the 321 and 300 BC. In this, laws are laid by Kautilya concerning the forest, including the protection of forest by the state, fines for cutting trees, damaging forest, fines and punishment for causing harm to animal, and establishment of forest, reserve for animal, and payment of fees for hunting. Ashoka, the envelope, India's envelope, is also there, which is also known as fifth pillar, edicted prohibiting the killing of certain animals and birds, the destruction of forest, and killing of other specified animal on specific dates. After the post-independence era, we have many laws in India, like Forest Policy of 1952, Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, Environment Protection Act 1980, Biological Diversity Act 2003. Now a topic about the judicial activism. This phrase was coined by Arthur Schlesinger Jr. and they introduced it in January 1947, according to the Fortune magazine article. The Black Law Dictionary tells judicial activism is a philosophy of judicial decision making, whereby judges are allowed their personal views about the public policy, among other factors, to guide their decision. If we talk about judicial activism, manifestation of judicial activism is PIL. PIL is made judicial activism possible in India, which is a manifestation of judicial activism and has introduced a new dimension to the judiciary, involvement in public administration. The issue of locus standi and the procedure complexity have taken back a seat in cause brought before the court through PILs. We have judicial remedies for the environmental pollution. We have two liabilities, and one is tortious liability and second is statutory law. These are the two remedies available in India. The tortious remedies are like trespass, nuisance, strict liability, and negligence. And if we talk about the statutory remedies, which means citizen can sue and can brought an action against Section 19 of Environment Protection Act 1986. An activity under Section 133, which give power to the magistrate for removal of unlawful objects in CRPC 1973, an activity brought under Section 268 for open irritation under Indian Penal Code 1860. Apart from this, we have a writ petition. For if we want to go in Supreme Court, we have Article 32 and 226 for High Courts. And if we talk about the constitutional aspect of environmental law in Indian Constitution, it was the first time when responsibility of environment imposed upon the state through the Constitution 42nd Amendment Act 1976. Article 48A state that state shall have endeavor to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest and wildlife of the century. The amendment also inserted Part 6A, fundamental duty of the Constitution, which I read as follows. Article 51A(g), it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to protect and improve the natural environment, including the forest, lakes, wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures. We have case laws, Tarun Bhagat versus Union of India. It is a social action group which challenging the legality of granting mining license in protecting areas of reserve forest. The litigation should be treated. The Supreme Court had said that litigation should not be treated as usual adversing litigation. The petitioner are acting in aid for purpose high of natural agenda. Petitioners' concern for the environment, ecology, and the wildlife should be shared by the government. We have Taj Mahal case, MC Mehta versus Union of India. In this, the petitioner complained that Taj Mahal is suffering decay due to the large number of industry like foundries, chemical industries, Mathura refinery, and sought appropriate action to the authorities to take immediate step to stop air pollution in Taj trapezium zone. After considering the various reports, Supreme Court went on issuing direction and ordering reallocation of large number of industries. The court also gave various direction. Observe that Taj, apart from being a cultural heritage, it is industry itself. More than 2 million tourists visit the Taj Mahal every year. The objective behind this litigation is to stop the pollution while encouraging development of the industry. Then we again have MC Mehta versus Union of India. A petition was filed under Article 32 of Constitution of India, seeking the disclosure of factory engaged in manufacturing of hazardous product. While the case was pending, oleum gas leaking out of the factory injured several persons, the significance of the case lie in its formulation of general principles of liability of industries engaged in the hazardous and inherited danger activity. We have another case. In this court held that if right to livelihood is not treated as a part of constitutional right to life, the easiest way to depriving the person of his right to life would be depriving of his means of livelihood to the point of abrogation. Such deprivation would not only denude the life of its effective content and meaningfulness, but it would make life impossible to live. Then we have MC Mehta versus Kamal Nath. In this, Supreme Court has applied the doctrine of public trust. The state is a guardian of natural resources. What doctrine of public trust is? The state is the guardian of natural resources, and natural resources are available for public, for their enjoyment by nature, and it cannot be changed into a public property. The state is under the legal duty to protect the natural resources. For the first time in India, to an economic problem. According to the Supreme Court, the public trust doctrine primarily rests on the principle that certain resources like air, water, sea waters, forests have such a great importance to the public that it would be wholly unjustified to make them subject of private property. Now we like to conclude. As a result of above mentioned cases, we can infer that Supreme Court is currently extending various legal provisions related to the provision of environment. In this way, justice system try to fill the gaps when there is a lack of legislation. These new innovation and development in India through judicial activism open the many approaches to developing and helping the country. In India, courts are extremely aware and cautious about the particular nature of environmental rights. As the loss of natural resources cannot be renewed, they are recommendations that need to be considered. There is no way for the laws unless it is an effective and successful implementation. And for the effective implementation, public awareness is crucial condition. Therefore, it is essential that there is an appropriate awareness. The session is also held by...
Dear colleagues, sorry, please, because we have no a lot of time for the conference, please proceed to conclusion. Thank you.
It was upheld by the Apex Tribunal in the case of MC Mehta versus Union of India. In this case, the court ordered Union government to issue instruction to all state and union government to enforce the authority as a condition of license on all cinemas to display not less than 2 slides. Message of environment in the middle of each show. In addition, the Indian Law Commission in its 186 report submitted a proposal for establishment of environmental court. Hence, there is an urgent need to strengthen the hands of judiciary by making separate environmental courts with a professional judge to manage the environment cases and criminal cases so that judiciary can perform it more viably. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much for your very interesting presentation. And I think that we have some problem with your presentation because we still see only your first slide. So could you please send us your presentation into our chat if it is possible?
Yes, if it's possible. And I would like to introduce our colleague Sharma. Please, this is the students of this School of Law Management, Municipal University, Jaipur. Are you here? Because you sent me. Yes, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Please.
Ma'am, is my PPT visible?
Yes.
Yes,
ma'am.
now we can see your presentation.
Yes, ma'am. My topic is transformation of environmental laws in transformation to green economy. Let's start with the green economy, understanding green economy. It is the monetary system that runs on the ideas of principles of sustainable development, the economy of state in which the cost is reduced by recycling, reusing, recovering the resources and utilizes them to fulfill their potential to avail the maximum profit. It is the green economy. Also, it is supported through legal...
Go slow. Please go slow. You are just running.
Okay, ma'am.
Please do.
Okay.
Yes, you talk very, very quickly, please.
Also, it is supported through legal and regulatory reforms that strengthens governance systems and human rights, encourage economic growth and equity, and promote the environmental rule of law. Now, let's see a recent case. Couple of weeks ago in India, a district from state Rajasthan is facing highly water crisis in the area. Even though they have a river in the area, they are not getting their basic needs fulfilled related to water, because there are several industries coloring clothes, discharging untreated effluent in the river, and also sewage water of entire city has also been discharged there only, which would badly affect not only villagers' day-to-day life, but also destroying the fertility of agricultural land, spread diseases, and may cause many other more problems. It is, of course, damaging the environment. The situations are not that easier everywhere as we think to be. There is still the woman who walks 10 to 20 kilometers daily to get drinking water. There are the people who are earning so less and still spending 20% of their income to get the water, actually the drinking water. We had a long foreseen dream of becoming the green economy, a nation that has been idealized in its Vedas, that is take only as much from the nature that it permits to. But the path has never been easy for us. Due to the ever increasing population, lack of awareness to citizens about their duties, ignorant political leaders, and corrupt executives, the situation has worsened even further. Sustainability is not only related to the environmental issues, it is also related to social equity and economic development. However, the main challenge of sustainable is still strongly correlated with the preservation of a communal environment for future generations. Now let's see what is the need of environmental law. Education of production and cost resulting in a more responsible use of raw materials and an increase of efficient energy consumption, reduction of waste through recycling and reuse of products that have reached the end of their life cycle, creation of new jobs, increase in sales that address environmental issues and respect the planet. Green economy requires companies to acknowledge and become aware of their corporate social responsibility, to adopt new processes and to lower their environmental impact as much as possible. In many countries, this concept is still far from becoming a reality. There are no strict rules and regulations to keep a check on mismanagement of this waste. According to our data, less than 20% of waste is recycled only in India, whereas this number is significantly high in the West. There is no availability of robust social fabric or machinery to classify the garbage on an industrial scale. This and the inefficient sanctioning and record of the funds given to be. To be very sure, the government has a key role, indeed a responsibility, for setting policies that serve, advance, and protect the public interest in transitioning towards an energy system that is more sustainable from both a supply and environmental standpoint. Now let's see what local government can do in this. It can reduce the cost of running local government, can reduce the cost of doing businesses, it can lower the barriers of entry for new green businesses. It can reduce utility costs for homeowners, can reduce the negative impacts on environment caused by resource use, can fly ash utilization action plan, can encourage clean development mechanism. To fulfill this dream of India to become a green economy, we first and must need to transform the laws and the bodies checking them that affect the environment. The transformation of the environmental laws is the only way to transform and shape the future of India, be it on the basis of global carbon emission or the percent forest cover land. The IPC should be made with strict actions against the defaulters for all sort of environmental damages, from burning of all the stocks in farms to flowing the dead bodies in the rivers. Now, at last, I would like to conclude myself by urging everyone present here. It's time that we stop treating our rivers as goddesses and lands as goddess in India and start thinking them as the sole source of mankind, of life for mankind, because we have probably seen what happens to a river when we treat her as goddess. And in contrast, the rivers where they are treated like rivers are healthy and clean. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is a very interesting speech, I think. So Now I would like with pleasure introduce the speech of our moderator of our conference, Alisa Zasimkova, PhD in law, Associate Professor of Department of International Private Law of the Kutafin Moscow State Law University, and she prepared the speech about green financing in Russia and India, current issue and prospects. Please, Alisa Fedorovna.
So thank you very much, Maria Alexandrovna, for my presentation. And today I would like to talk about the situation with the green finance in Russian Federation. Due to the lack of time, I will talk about only the Russian Federation, and maybe in short, I will tell you about the situation in India. To begin with, at the end of this 20th century, the international community faced serious environmental problems caused by active economic activity, as well as issues of social and corporate responsibility associated with the violation of human rights. These problems led to the realization of the need to move on to a new model of the economy, the so-called economy of sustainable development, which is based on a combination of well-being of society and reducing human impact on the environment, as well as taking into account social and economic problems. In order to provide financial support for projects aimed at achieving these goals, the formation of a sustainable financing market has begun in the world. At the first stages of its development, it was mainly about the issuance of green bonds, and the main issuers were the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development and the European Investment Bank, and also regional and national banks and development funds. An equally significant impact was the adoption of the principle for responsible investment, as well as the creation of a number of international and regional organizations involved in the development of standards and principles for various instruments of sustainable financing. For example, such as the International Capital Market Association, the International Initiative for Climate Bonds, etc. However, the most important role in shaping the sustainable financing market was played by the adoption of the Sustainable Development Goals developed by the UN General Assembly, aimed at balancing the three main components of sustainable development: its environmental, social, and economic components. And according to the experts, to achieve these goals by the design date to 2030, more than 30 trillions of US dollars are needed. And this sum is very huge, and to accumulate this sum, it was necessary to create the new ecosystem of sustainable financing. And this system involves three main elements or three main components, as I already told you. It's E, environmental, that means environmental friendliness, which involves financing products aimed at mitigating the effects of climate change and adapting to them, preserving biodiversity, preventing pollution. And the second component, it's social, S, that means social responsibility, which involves financing projects aimed at combating inequality, human rights violations, ensuring inclusiveness, investing in human capitals. And the last component is G, it's governance. It means management, which involves taking into account corporate relations and corporate governance standards. Currently, the global market for sustainable finance exceeds $1 trillion of US dollars, which is almost 10% of the global emission volume, and by 2025, its volumes will increase 10 times. However, this market is most developed in the European Union, where sustainable finance plays a key role in the implementation of the European Green Deal and the transition to a climate-neutral, sustainable, resource-efficient, and equitable economy. Also playing an important role in the development of this market in the new sustainable finance strategy adopted in 2021, which aims to provide financial support for the transition to a sustainable economy through actions in 4 key areas: its transition finance, its inclusiveness, stability, and the contribution of the financial system and global ambitions. Unlike most of the foreign countries, the market for sustainable financing in Russia began to take shape recently. One of the first documents in this area was the National Project Ecology, adopted in 2018, which laid the foundation for the formation of this market in our country. An important step toward the further development of the sustainable finance market was also the adoption of the goals and main directions of sustainable development in the Russian Federation, and of course the taxonomy of sustainable development projects and requirements for their verification system, which underlie the creation of a regulatory environment for issuing financing instruments sustainable development. Also, in the Russian Federation, we have the green lending market, which also began to develop relatively recently. And this is because of its relatively low profitability and long implementation period of green projects, as well as the inability of banks to independently determine the possibility of achieving the results of their implementation declared by the company. For example, improving energy efficiency, reducing emissions, and as a result, the need to involve third-party organizations in their assessment. However, already in 2020, green loans and loans linked to ESG factors were received by several Russian companies, including in particular Polymetal, to which the French bank Société Générale provided a green loan in the amount of 125 million of US dollars to finance project for the transition to a sustainable and lower carbon economy. And the next example is the company of Metal Invest, which managed to revise the term of its early syndicated loan for the amount of more than 200 million euros in terms of linking the interest rate on it to the company's key performance indicators in relation to sustainable development. As a rule, the issuance of green loans is carried out by branches of foreign banks. However, in recent years, Russian banks have also begun to provide such loans. For example, Sberbank, Sovcombank, and VTB Bank. As a rule, such loans are divided into the following types. It's green loans, provided to finance environmental or climate projects related to agricultural, renewable energy, and clean industry. The second type, it's social loans, provided to finance projects related to social impact, for example, project to train people with some disabilities. And their third type of the loans, it's loans for sustainable development, provided to finance environmentally friendly and social projects. And the last type of loans, it's loans linked to sustainable development goals or sustainability improvement loans. These are loans or revolving credit facilities that involve interest rate adjustment dependent on the achievement by the borrower of sustainability indicators assessed on the basis of their external ESG ratings or internal sustainability targets. At the same time, unlike green loans, this type of loan allows you to use the funds raised by any purpose and not just for the implementation of green projects. As in many countries, regulation of green loans is carried out mainly through non-state regulation tools developed by different associations of participants in the credit market and the capital markets. Such documents include, in particular, those developed by the LMA, I mean Loan Market Association, the Asia Pacific Loan Market Association, and the Loan Syndications and Trading Association with the support of the Internal Capital Market Association. And these documents include Green Loan Principles, Sustainability Linked Loan Principles, and Social Loan Principles. And to sum up, just a few words about some problems of the development of the market of green finance in Russian Federation. Despite some documents, despite some regulations and laws which deals with this issue, we still don't have even unified terminology for the green financial instruments, and we still don't have unified legislation. And now we just try to develop such document, we try to develop such legislation, and to make these financial instruments more popular. And also we just make some efforts to resolve the problem with the greenwashing. I mean the problem when the company just pretend that their production is green, but it's not true. So in short, this is all I would like to tell you. So thank you very much for your attention. And if you have some questions about the green finance in Russian Federation, I would be happy to answer. Thank you.
Do you have any questions, dear colleague? If we have no questions, I would like to say thank you very much for Alisa Fedorovna. We have really very interesting conference today. I would like to say my gratitude and thank for all our participants today. I think the problem about Russian and Indian law is very, very important in every time, and in this situation, in the world, difficult situation too. And we will be glad to see you again in our conference in Kutafin Moscow State University, online, and I hope offline too in the future. Maybe some of the other hosts of the conference would like to say some words in the end of the conference. Mr. Singh, are you here? Maybe you would like to say some words? Because I see you here a few times, but not now. Okay, Alisa Fedorova, maybe you would like to say some words in the end of the conference.
Yes, thank you very much. And I would like to say thank you to all our speakers today. It was a great pleasure to hear your presentations. Thank you very much for your discussion. It was very interesting. So I was happy to be here with you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alisa Fedorova. Thank you very much, dear speakers. See you soon. And if you want to publish the article in our journal, for example, Law and Digital Economy, or in another journal of our university, please let me know and send us our article by my mail. Thank you very much, and have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Same to you. Goodbye.